This boy is no ordinary human. He possesses an impossible power. The moment his body touches water, his wounds heal at an incredible speed. He can breathe underwater naturally, and when danger appears, he can command the water to obey his will, raising massive walls for protection or unleashing waves powerful enough to bring entire cities to their knees. His name is Percy, and he's the son of Poseidon, the god of the sea. The story takes place in a world ruled by three powerful gods: Zeus, king of the gods; Poseidon, ruler of the seas; and Hades, lord of the underworld. Together, they maintained balance throughout the universe. But despite all their power, they shared one weakness. They consistently fell in love with human women. As a result, children known as demigods were born, half human and half divine. Percy was one of those children. His mother was an ordinary woman, but his father was Poseidon himself. Percy had never met his father, yet strange abilities followed him his entire life. Even as a child, he could stay underwater for hours without needing air, leaving everyone around him completely baffled. One day, Percy's school visited a museum for a field trip. At first, everything seemed normal, but then his teacher asked him to come with her alone. Percy followed without suspicion, unaware that his life was about to change. The moment they entered the room, his teacher transformed into a horrifying fury, climbing onto a high shelf and revealing razor-sharp claws and teeth. She demanded to know where Zeus's stolen lightning bolt was hidden. Percy was stunned. He had absolutely no idea what she was talking about. Before he could explain, the fury attacked. Just when things looked hopeless, the museum curator arrived. He wasn't just a curator. He was Percy's secret protector. He threatened the creature and forced her to retreat. After the attack, Percy finally learned the truth. A few days earlier, Zeus's legendary lightning bolt had been stolen, and Percy had been framed for the crime. Zeus was convinced that Poseidon's son was responsible, his anger clouding his judgment. Furious, Zeus warned Poseidon that if the bolt wasn't returned within 14 days, a devastating war between the gods would begin. Knowing his son was in danger, Poseidon secretly arranged protection for Percy. Now that his identity had been exposed, staying hidden was no longer possible. Percy's protector handed him a magical pen that transformed into a powerful sword and explained that they needed to leave immediately for Camp Half-Blood, a secret sanctuary where demigods could live safely. Percy's friend quickly rushed him away from the museum. They stopped at his house first, where Percy's terrified mother immediately agreed to leave with them. During the journey, she finally revealed everything, explaining that Poseidon never truly abandoned them. He stayed away because getting close would have attracted Zeus's wrath. As Percy struggled to process the truth, disaster struck. Without warning, a gigantic minotaur dropped from the sky. Its eyes burned like fire, and its monstrous body looked like a living nightmare. The creature slammed into their vehicle with tremendous force, flipping the car off the road. As Percy looked toward a nearby field, he froze in horror. Hundreds of wild bulls were charging directly toward them at full speed. At that moment, Percy's friend revealed his own secret. Pulling down his pants, he exposed the lower body of a goat. He was a satyr. With one powerful kick, he shattered the car window, and the three scrambled out and ran for their lives. Behind them, the Minotaur continued closing the distance. They managed to reach the gates of Camp Half-Blood, but another heartbreaking truth emerged. Percy's mother was fully human, and humans were forbidden from entering the camp. Percy refused to leave her behind, but through tears, his mother insisted this was his destiny. Before either of them could say another word, the Minotaur arrived, grabbed her in its massive hands, and dissolved her into ash. Watching his mother die unleashed a fury inside Percy unlike anything he had ever felt. Ignoring the overwhelming odds, he charged the monster. Unfortunately, the Minotaur was far stronger, and one strike sent Percy crashing into the ground. As the creature approached for the killing blow, Percy rolled away at the last second. The Minotaur smashed headfirst into a large tree, trapping its horns inside the trunk. The beast struggled desperately before snapping off its own horns to break free. That decision proved fatal. Percy grabbed the broken horns and drove them deep into the Minotaur's chest, collapsing the monster instantly. Unable to handle the pain of losing his mother, Percy fell unconscious. He remained asleep for 3 straight days. When he finally woke up, part of him hoped it had been a dream, but the sight of his friend's goat legs quickly reminded him it was all real. His mother was gone. Eventually, Percy buried his grief and made a decision. He would find the truth and confront Zeus himself. But first, he needed to train. At Camp Half-Blood, Percy met Annabeth, the daughter of Athena. She was beautiful, intelligent, and far more dangerous than she appeared. Percy liked her immediately, but Annabeth wasn't interested in making things easy for him. During a training exercise, the two faced each other in combat. At first, the battle seemed evenly matched, but Annabeth soon completely overwhelmed him. Within moments, Percy was bruised, exhausted, and humiliated as other campers laughed. Suddenly, he heard a mysterious voice whispering in his ear, urging him to enter the water. Unsure why, Percy approached and touched the water. The effect was immediate. His injuries healed before everyone's eyes as energy surged through his body, empowered by the ocean itself. Rejuvenated, he returned to the fight and easily defeated every opponent in front of him. The crowd stood in shock, and even Annabeth looked impressed. As time passed, a friendship slowly formed between them. But peace didn't last long. That very night, while the camp celebrated, the campfire exploded into towering flames, and Hades, the king of the underworld, emerged from the inferno. A heavy silence fell across the camp. Hades stared directly at Percy and revealed that his mother was still alive. Hades then offered a deal: bring him Zeus's stolen lightning bolt, and his mother would be returned safely. Percy had no clue where the bolt was, but if there was a chance to save his mother, he couldn't ignore it. Later that night, Percy secretly left camp to face the mission alone. However, Annabeth and his friend quickly caught up to him, making it clear that the mission now belonged to all three of them. Annabeth suggested visiting Luke, the son of Hermes, who knew more about the underworld than anyone. When they arrived, Luke warned them that getting into the underworld wasn't the hard part, getting back out was. He explained that 3 magical green pearls were the key to escaping the land of the dead. Without them, they would be trapped forever. Before they left, Luke gifted Percy a pair of flying shoes and a magical shield. The next morning, the journey began. According to their map, the first pearl was hidden inside an old, abandoned antique shop filled with strange stone statues wearing expressions of absolute terror. A chill ran through the group when Percy's friend recognized one of them as his own uncle. They immediately realized whose lair they had entered. This was Medusa's domain. Moments later, a beautiful woman appeared wearing dark sunglasses. The instant she removed them, the trio shut their eyes tightly. Nearby, an unsuspecting woman accidentally looked directly at Medusa and transformed into stone within seconds. Medusa attempted to trick them into opening their eyes, but Percy quickly developed a plan. Using his phone screen as a mirror to track her reflections, he swung his sword at exactly the right moment and decapitated her. Percy recovered the first green pearl from her wrist and placed Medusa's head inside a bag. Later, they reached the location of the second pearl. Waiting until nightfall, Percy used his flying shoes to soar through the air and retrieve it. Everything seemed surprisingly easy, until a voice echoed from behind them. "We've been expecting you, Mr. Percy." The group turned to find a mysterious caretaker demanding Zeus's lightning bolt. Percy angrily insisted he didn't have it, but the caretaker's body suddenly expanded and twisted, transforming into a gigantic, 9-headed hydra. Panic erupted instantly. The trio ran as Percy raised his magical shield to fight back, but the hydra's fiery breath melted straight through it. Desperate, Percy noticed a nearby source of water. Unleashing his powers, massive torrents of water slammed into the hydra with tremendous force. For a brief moment, it seemed to work, but the creature shattered through the attack and continued advancing. At the perfect moment, Percy's friend pulled Medusa's severed head from the bag. The hydra looked directly at it, and its enormous body slowly turned to stone, freezing the terrifying monster forever. After catching their breath, the trio continued toward Las Vegas to find the final green pearl. When they arrived, a cheerful waiter welcomed them into a luxurious hotel and casino, explaining that everything inside was completely free. Surrounded by lavish decorations, endless entertainment, and trays of delicious pastries, the 3 happily accepted the food. Unfortunately, they had just fallen into a trap. Within minutes, their minds became clouded and their mission faded from memory, distracted by the endless attractions. Just as Percy was completely losing focus, he heard the mysterious voice urgently warning him not to eat the lotus flowers, revealing that anyone who stayed would remain trapped forever. Percy snapped out of the trance and quickly brought Annabeth and his friend back to their senses. Realizing the truth, they searched desperately for the final pearl while the casino staff began moving suspiciously around them. The moment they grabbed the third pearl, the employees pursued them from every direction. Acting quickly, Percy spotted an expensive sports car parked outside, and the trio jumped in and sped away toward their most dangerous destination yet. Their next stop was the entrance to the underworld. Thanks to the incredible speed of the stolen car, the long journey was completed in a fraction of the time. They arrived at a terrifying location where darkness stretched endlessly and distant screams echoed through the fiery landscape. After bribing the ferryman for passage, they ventured deeper into the realm of the dead and reached the throne room of Hades himself. The ruler of the underworld greeted them with a calm smile, but immediately demanded Zeus's lightning bolt, revealing that possessing it would give him the power to challenge Zeus and seize control of Mount Olympus. Percy firmly insisted he had never stolen the bolt, which enraged Hades. With a wave of his hand, Hades opened a glowing soul box to reveal Percy's mother alive. The sight nearly broke Percy, and he rushed forward to free her. But before he could reach her, Hades noticed Percy's magical shield, and to everyone's shock, the stolen lightning bolt was hidden inside it. Percy froze as the pieces came together. He had been framed from the very beginning. The real mastermind wasn't Zeus or Hades, it was Luke. The very person who had guided them had secretly planted the weapon. Consumed by hatred toward the gods, Luke wanted to start a war to destroy Olympus itself. Hades, however, didn't care about the conspiracy. Now that the bolt had been discovered, he prepared to imprison them all in the underworld forever. At the last possible second, Percy's friend seized an opportunity, grabbing the lightning bolt and unleashing a powerful blast that sent Hades crashing backward. Knowing the world would be doomed if the gods went to war, he handed the bolt back to Percy and urged him to stop Zeus before it was too late. Then another problem emerged. There were now 4 people needing to escape, but they only possessed 3 pearls. One person had to stay behind. Percy immediately volunteered, but his friend refused, reminding Percy that saving the world mattered more. Though heartbroken, Percy knew he was right. Promising to come back, Percy crushed the pearls, instantly transporting himself, Annabeth, and his mother to Mount Olympus. The moment they arrived, Luke was already waiting for them, having anticipated their arrival. Without warning, Luke launched a devastating attack, kicking Percy backward and snatching the lightning bolt for himself. Armed with the most dangerous weapon in existence, his power increased dramatically. But Percy finally understood who he truly was. As the battle intensified, water tanks throughout the area exploded, flooding the battlefield and transforming the environment into a raging ocean storm. Luke fought fiercely, but Percy now wielded powers far beyond anything he had shown before, crashing giant waves into his opponent repeatedly. Then, for the very first time, Percy summoned the divine trident of Poseidon. The legendary weapon appeared in his hands, radiating immense power. Amplifying his abilities, Percy unleashed a devastating strike that launched Luke across the battlefield and sent him crashing into the distant ocean. The battle was over, but an even greater disaster was approaching. Only 2 minutes remained before Zeus's deadline expired. Mount Olympus had become a powder keg. Lightning flashed and thunder shook the heavens as gods gathered and tension filled the air. Poseidon and Athena desperately tried to convince Zeus to stand down, but Zeus, blinded by pride and anger, refused to listen. The king of the gods was moments away from declaring war when a voice echoed behind him. "Stop!" The entire assembly turned around as Percy stepped forward, carrying the lightning bolt. Instant silence fell across Olympus. He placed the weapon before Zeus and revealed how Luke had orchestrated the conspiracy to spark a war among the gods. For the first time, Zeus had no response. Slowly, he realized he had been wrong. The boy he believed was a thief had actually saved Olympus. Recognizing his mistake, Zeus promised Percy that his friend would be rescued from the underworld. Soon afterward, the gathering was dismissed, allowing Percy and Poseidon to finally speak privately. The reunion was far from perfect, as years of pain still lingered inside Percy, who believed his father had abandoned them. Poseidon listened quietly before explaining that he had always watched over them from afar. The distance was only because getting close would have placed Percy in even greater danger. For the first time, Percy understood, and his anger slowly faded away as father and son finally reconciled. Sometime later, Percy returned to Camp Half-Blood. Just as Zeus had promised, his friend was safely restored from the underworld. Life gradually returned to normal, and the camp once again became a place of peace. With their adventures behind them, Percy and Annabeth grew closer than ever, and with that, the movie comes to an end.